Hey, did you see the results of the federal by-election in the riding of Toronto-St. Paul's? I bet you did, because it was huge news. It was a Liberal stronghold since the 80s, and it is so deep in Toronto, which, winning that seat for the Liberals is as obvious as the Conservatives winning, say, Calgary Southwest. If Calgary Southwest ever falls to the Liberals, it would be, pigs would fly, but that is exactly what happened. Absolutely astonishing. You could get a feeling that something was afoot because every day another federal cabinet minister came into the riding to door knock or at least have a selfie taken. It was an enormous effort, all hands on deck. The Liberals were fielding a candidate named Leslie Church, who was a former senior advisor to Chrystia Freeland and carried with her some of that policy residue. People are a little bit tired of Chrystia Freeland, and even though Leslie Church was more physically presentable and less irritating, it was still Chrystia Freeland's gal. It was an ultra-Trudeau candidate. You could tell things were afoot when Trudeau's face and name appeared nowhere in the Liberal campaign materials. I have to tell you, I never thought the Conservatives would win. I thought the margin would narrow, but seriously, winning Toronto-St. Paul's, look at this map. I saw this on Twitter. This is the red, these are the districts of Toronto. Red are Liberal, and that blue chunk right in the heart of it is Conservative. Unbelievable. Only a few percentage in the end, but you win by one vote or by a million, it's still a win, and it was utterly shocking, and it is a premonition of things to come, I think. It's true that a by-election gives voters more freedom to clap back at the government, because if they go rogue and do something dramatic, it's not going to change the entire country. You can be more courageous in a by-election vote knowing you're not changing the government or the whole direction of the country. You're sending a message. But I think that that message is going to be shared in the general election unless something dramatic happens in the next year, and it could. I mean, Trudeau has been 10, 15, 20 points back in the polls for about a year. If I were a Liberal MP or a Liberal cabinet minister even, from almost anywhere, I would be terrified right now. This feels like, for those of you who are my age or older, the Brian Mulroney handing the baton off to Kim Campbell, who in the 1993 election wiped out the mighty Conservative Party, winning just 2 seats, not even Kim Campbell's own. I don't say the Liberals are going to go down to 2 seats. They have some seats in the Toronto and Montreal areas that will probably survive any flood, but they'll be under 30 seats for sure. A wipeout is coming. And right away, Trudeau said he will not quit, and Chrystia Freeland echoed that. Here's a clip of that just to see for yourself.
Before I wrap up, I would like to say a few words about last night's by-election. First, I want to thank all the volunteers and candidates for putting their name forward and participating in this important democratic exercise, including our tremendous Liberal candidate, Leslie Church, who ran a strong and positive campaign. I also want to congratulate Don Stewart on his victory in this tightly fought race. But most of all, I want to thank the people of Toronto-St. Paul for exercising your right to vote and making your voice heard. Now, this was obviously not the result we wanted, but I want to be clear that I hear people's concerns and frustrations. These are not easy times, and it's clear that I and my entire Liberal team have much more work to do to deliver tangible, real progress that Canadians across the country can see and feel. We'll never stop working and fighting to make sure that people have what they need to get through these tough times. My focus is on your success, and that's where it's going to stay.
Deputy Prime Minister, can the Prime Minister still stay on to lead the Liberal Party into the next election, given that you just lost one of the safest seats in the entire country last night?
Yes, he certainly can.
Can you explain why? Because everybody we're hearing from behind the scenes believes that the result last night means catastrophic losses across the country. If you cannot win in Toronto under Justin Trudeau, why should anybody believe you can win anywhere else under him?
Our government is focused on working hard for Canada and Canadians and on delivering results for Canada and Canadians. That is what the Prime Minister is focused on. That is what we are all focused on. The Prime Minister is committed to leading us into the next election, and he has our support.
Even if Trudeau is deciding to quit, I think he would still say he's not deciding to quit while he figures out how to do it. So just because a Liberal says something doesn't mean it's true, especially with Trudeau. But I'm starting to think that he won't quit. Now, I think that there's a lot of reasons for him to quit. He has been repudiated by voters. He has led the country into disaster. No one believes him. People laugh at him. They're not even noticing the things he does. No one trusts him anymore. The deep dislike to him, I don't think it can be turned around. Even Liberal pollsters like David Coletto, I remember a comment he made. It's like if a friend becomes an enemy, or if you decide you don't like someone, you're just not going to listen to them anymore. And that's how Trudeau is. He's like a former friend that you have an enmity with now. Coletto said it more gracefully than that. But here are the reasons why I think Trudeau would stay. He would go to maybe let someone else have a chance to revive his party. He would go because his time is up. He is past his best before date. He would go because he's brought us disaster. Those are all reasons to go. But none of that appeals to who Justin Trudeau is in his heart. I mean, think about it. Here are some reasons I have why I don't think Justin Trudeau will quit. Number one, he has to stay to manage the cover-up. I'm talking about Chinese influence peddling. I'm talking about Iranian influence peddling. We've seen the steps he's taken to cover that up. First, he dispatched his family friend, David Johnson, to write a whitewash, and now he's, contradicting CSIS reports. Like, he is scared, obviously, of facts coming out. He instructs his Liberals to hide and to vote against certain disclosures. So I think number one is a cover-up, not just of foreign interference, but of financial corruption too. We're starting to see millions, hundreds of millions, billions of dollars of spending absolutely crooked. The case of the ArriveCan app is sort of an obvious one, but that's only $60 or $70 million. We're talking billions. So number one reason he wants to stay, I would imagine, is so he can make sure the machinery of the state, the levers he has to pull, covers up what he has done and what he is doing and will do. A related reason is, even if he wants to go, a lot of other people have a stake in Trudeau remaining in power, not just the Liberals, but Trudeau himself. If you've paid Trudeau $100,000 in bribes, and if you're saying, Ezra, that's a shocking allegation, that's defamatory, what proof do you have? Well, okay, let's use the example of the communist Chinese agent who made a six-figure gift to the Trudeau Foundation that was picked up by Trudeau's brother. So let's say you're someone who paid a bribe like that. Well, you don't want the person you bribed to leave. You want to keep earning a rate of return on your bribe. If you are someone who's plugged into the lobbyist machinery, to the procurement machinery, if you're someone who gets sweetheart contracts like Anita Anand's husband does, if you're McKinsey and you've got sweet deals through Chrystia Freeland, you don't want the team to change. You've invested hundreds of millions in your team. You're probably getting billions out. In the case of China and Iran, you're getting policies out. I mean, if Iran didn't have control over Trudeau and his brother, it's unlikely that Canada would have such a pro-Hamas position. So all these people, even if Trudeau wants out, Trudeau's courtiers, Trudeau's financiers, Trudeau's threateners, his honey traps, they want him in. An example of that would be Ukraine. Put aside your views on the Ukraine conflict, which I think is awful, and I hope it resolves itself peacefully as soon as possible. The amount of money and materiel and weaponry that Canada is sending to Ukraine might not be the same if Trudeau's no longer prime minister. That's certainly something they're saying in the United States if Trump succeeds Biden. So that's just one example of an enormous stakeholder in Trudeau's continued prime ministership. So cover-ups for himself, his stakeholders insisting he stay. Here's a third reason I don't think he's going to go. He doesn't really care about democracy. He doesn't have democratic impulses. He has authoritarian impulses, anti-democratic impulses. When he was asked what his favorite country was, he said communist China. And he didn't just say China, he continued, here, watch the clip again, because of its basic dictatorship. Take a look at the clip.
There's a level of admiration I actually have for China, because their basic dictatorship is allowing them to actually turn their economy around on a dime and say, we need to go green as fast as we need to start, investing in solar. I mean, there is a flexibility that I know Stephen Harper must dream about, of having a dictatorship that he could do everything he wanted, that I find quite interesting.
Not because of wonderful things about China. I've got a long list of things I like about China, from the food to the culture to the art to the history, the architecture. There are many wonderful things. The most odious thing about China is the thing that Trudeau likes. Just like Trudeau always admired Castro, just like Trudeau's brother did a propaganda film for Iran called The New Great Game. Trudeau doesn't care about a vote in St. Paul's. He doesn't care about a vote anywhere because he's an authoritarian. He'll use the mechanism of an election to get where he wants, but he feels no compunction defying the democracy. The next reason is related. I think it's how he views himself, not just an authoritarian, but I think he thinks he's some sort of magical destiny's child, a messiah, that he is a super person, morally or personally or cosmically superior than the rest of us. He actually believes he's God's gift to Canada. He thinks that he is the chosen one. I think you can see that in how he talks about himself, how he sociopathically lies, how he is completely unprincipled. If it's to say how he refuses to apologize for anything. He has never apologized for anything in history other than apologizing for other people, as in, I apologize for what Stephen Harper did. I apologize for what the past government. He's got a messiah complex. Why would a messiah quit?